Our next speaker is Ken Schild from the original pledge class, and after I was asking some of the guys last night who started up the fraternity why they pledged Ken. Well, I think their hopes were well achieved. Ken come on, Ken. Ken was a political science major and took calculus for fun. That's the type of guy he was.
Thank you, John. Flattery will get you everywhere. In September '68, I spoke at the dedication of the old teak house on Grand Avenue, and it's an honor to be asked to speak again at the dedication of this new building. And if another new house is built in another 40 years, I'll try for a three-peat. In 1962, teaks were scattered across campus in 2 buildings that collectively housed about 35 men, with another 20 or so living in the dorms and off campus. The first teak house was on Crawford Street and now lies somewhere underneath the tennis courts near where Crawford Street dead ends. And we depend on an annex for to house the rest of our students. The first year we took our meals in the campus center. We only were able to eat one evening meal together as a fraternity in an upstairs conference room. And achieving and maintaining chapter unity under those circumstances was something we had to constantly work at. I want to say a few words about the first teak annex, which is located at the northeast corner of Grant and Pike. The building still exists. It was poorly insulated and did not have storm windows. My roommate, John Mader, 67, and I had to cram newspapers around the edges of the windows to keep the wind from blowing through. And unfortunately, our room had a lot of windows. And John was a track star, didn't have an ounce of fat on his body. And he would take a hot plate and turn it on and put it underneath his desk to keep his feet warm. And that was in a heated room. Teak was in the summer of '64, we were able to purchase a new annex, which at 307 West Main Street, which, as Atwood pointed out, was a home of the Karnak Club, which I didn't know until this morning. And that house was well insulated, and it was sold in 1968 to our chapter advisor, Eric Dean, and the sales proceeds were used to help pay Teak's share of the cost of the house on Grant Street. Teak was famous for its parties in those years. Wally Rowan, our first social chairman, class '65, was a master at planning parties, whether the budget was large or small. In the spring of '63, the major party on campus was Pan Hell, which was held in the gym. There was a booth building contest. Each fraternity was given a spot on which to build a booth, and the rest of the gym was available for dancing and for mingling. The theme of our booth that year was scenes from Alice in Wonderland. And Finley Park, class of '65, and Mike Stein, '66, drew the outlines of what needed to be painted on 4x8 foot sheets of plywood, and the rest of us just filled in the blanks. It was number painting on the grand scale. When all the pieces were done, they were all painted at our Crawford Street house. The entire fraternity assembled, and we carried them over the gym to hammer them into place. And a lot of us remarked at the time, we were all carrying them over, there goes the fraternity. Now, it seems strange today to say that, but given the circumstances under which we lived, that feeling meant a great deal to us. I'm going to wait for the truck. We won first place in the Pan Hell competition that year. It was our second campus-wide trophy. Our first was the IM Bowling Championship, and our third was the Scholarship Trophy, which we also won that semester. Of course, the most important thing about Teak was not the buildings that we lived in, but the fact that our fraternity existed at all. Our founders wanted a different type of fraternity. When it came to Wabash in September '62, Teak was the only integrated fraternity on campus. Catholics, Protestants, Jews, a few agnostics and atheists, whites, blacks, and Asian Americans, Goldwater and Rockefeller Republicans, liberal and not so liberal Democrats, plus a few non-political types, all living and trying to work together as one. Teak was a microcosm of what America is supposed to be. I've often thought as I look back on my 4 years at Wabash that I lived in a fool's paradise where my fraternity brothers could disagree about many things respectfully and sometimes not so respectfully without ever involving race or religion. Teak's motto, as we know, is not for wealth, rank, or honor, but for personal worth and character. I don't recall anyone giving any speeches about our motto in those days, but they were unnecessary because we lived our values every day. And I say these things because we were a fraternity when our housing was less than ideal. And I hope the current Teaks and those to come will enjoy and take care of this house. But remember always that the true value of a fraternity is not bricks and mortar, but its members, alumni and undergraduates. And it is my sincere hope that this house will help us to continue to build and preserve the Wabash and Teak values that we all cherish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Ken exemplifies the hope that those initial pioneers had in him when they gave him the pledge to join in 1962. And